Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on January 25th, 2022 at approximately 12:10 p.m. PST. Got off to a real rough start this morning, been fighting a tooth infection, but got it under control for the most part. As I've said before, it really is time that we start really focusing on what is, on the similarities, on the positive connections between people. We've got to get away from this idea of pointing out the differences. Differences are necessary, but in order to turn this society around, we have got to start looking at this as a united species. Okay, the idea that is being propagated, quite frankly, globally, and there are exceptions. Some people are not doing this. But around the world, people are promoting fear, separation, segregation. They are promoting the differences. And this has got to come to a stop. Okay, there will always be differences. Now, I am not a perpetual optimist. In all fairness, the way I look at it, the way this society is progressing right now is not in good shape. It is on a downhill spiral. Now, I'm not a doomsayer by any means. In my opinion, this is still changeable. We can still turn this back around to a positive outcome. But it is going to require the efforts of everybody involved. One person is not going to change this. Okay, it's going to require everybody's assistance. Now, the reality of it is this. It did not take a day for society to get to this point. It's not going to take a day to get it turned around. So, I came back to this world. I returned to this life at this time to make another run at trying to pass on one simple message. That message is literally that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, there will be exceptions, but it's up to you whether this world changes, not just up to me. Okay, the tools I offer here, the way I look at the world, is the way I live my life. Okay, this does not make it the only way, it just makes it the way I live my life. But the tools I offer here, and the philosophies I live by, are what's been working for me. So if you're sitting in a situation where you're not content with the way your life is going, now, not a week from now, not last week, but now, is the time to start making the changes. Okay, it is time that we focus on the positive sides, on the positive side of things. Maximize the positive, minimize the negative. This applies to your home life, your work life, your social life. It doesn't matter. Even where it comes to your health. Okay, yes, people will take it down, people have problems with health. Okay, like I said, when I first started, I'm dealing with a tooth infection right now. Not fun. Okay, especially when you think I can't go to the dentist because of the fact that I suffer from PTSD triggered by the dentist, making going there pretty much impossible. Same problem with the hospital. Thank heavens I've got a healing rate that I can capitalize on. Now, where we are standing right at this moment. Okay, where we are standing, we have to look at the way that your life is running. Take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you content with the way your life is going? I know from my standpoint, the path I'm on where it comes to my weight, I'm content with the drop. And I do strongly recommend, regardless of what the doctors say, and I'm no medical professional. However, I do disregard them a lot. For me personally, regardless of what other people have told you, I'm a firm believer that if you're aiming at dropping weight, drop it at 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds a week. Any faster than that, your body may run into problems adjusting. Okay. Now, with that in mind, take a look in your mirror. Take a look at the person you see in the mirror. Ask yourself, are you content with the way your life is going right now? If the answer is yes, then that's great. I'd love to hear from you if your life is going absolutely perfect. Because frankly, I've yet to meet anybody like that. I'm content with, for the most part, with where mine is heading. But there are things I'm aiming at changing. Okay. Of course, the last couple of days I didn't get a thing done because, well, get a tooth infection and see how well that works. So, from that standpoint, take a look in the mirror. If you're content with the path you're on, stay there. If you're not, start making adjustments to that path so that all you're left with is a path you're happy with. Because if you think about the logic behind it, if you eliminate the negative things in your life and you simply alter the energy so it flows smoothly so that you're content with the way it's going, all you're left with is a life you're content with. Now, this requires clear communication, no matter whether you're trying to figure it out for yourself or you're trying to pass on a message to somebody else. You still have to be very clear. If you're not, confusion will happen. And where it comes to communication, in 48 years now of doing this work, I have never seen a situation where a communication problem was not a 50-50 problem. Okay, every single situation I've run into, that communication problem has been invariably a 50-50 issue. Either one person is not speaking clearly, they're not being clear with what they're expecting, or two, the other person isn't hearing it, they're not processing it right. Okay. And what happens is people don't ask for repetition, they don't ask for clarification. Okay. That aspect of communication seems to have been pushed aside. And it's time to get back at it. It's time to really focus on what is working, on where the communication lines can be, because once we get the communication lines up and running, then we can absolutely start making things happen. Now, where it comes to, and I mean, this is where we have a problem. Well, there's a lot of places we have a problem. Understanding it did not take just a moment to get to the situation we're in. Okay, the situation we are in right now has taken centuries to get to. Hopefully, it won't take centuries to get back from it, because all we're doing is getting used to riding a bike again. And as I'm sure any of you that have learned to ride a bike when you were a kid, and you got off it for a while, you realize once you know how to ride a bike, it does come back. It might be a question of being a little, you might be a little rusty at it, but it does come back. It's the same as when I was talking to a number of different millionaires. What they have invariably told me is, once you make the first million, if you lose it, getting back to that million is a lot easier than it was the first time, because you've already laid the path. Now, I am certainly not the person to talk to about becoming a millionaire. I haven't got that far yet. Of course, in all fairness, I really never did look at the material world as a critical factor for me. And rest assured, that was a miscalculation. I should have paid more attention to it. Sadly, I did not. Now I have to deal with it. But where that comes into consideration is I'm currently 58. Now, Colonel Sanders started his life over when he was 65. So I figure I still got a 7-year run to get up and running. Okay, one step at a time, I will manage to get there. There's no doubt there in my heart at all. It's just going to take a little time. But when you're talking to somebody, if you're aiming at doing something well, talk to somebody that has successfully done it. Okay, if you're looking for a reason to change the direction that you're going down, okay, talk to somebody that has gone down that road and survived it. Okay, they may be able to give you an incentive as to why not to go down that road. I mean, for instance, and this is a real off-kilter side, I tried something. A cousin of mine, decades back, used to swear by one type of food. She used to swear by the combination of ice cream and ketchup. She said it was really, really good. Well, I'd never tried it before, so I figured, what the heck, I'll try it. I will tell you, go ahead and try it. It's not bad for you. But I'll tell you, as far as the taste mixture goes, from my personal recommendation, I would not recommend tasting it. Lord knows I tried it once, and that was more than enough. Okay, just in my opinion, a very bad combination. So, take a look at where your life is and really start reorganizing. Shift the things that you're not content with so you can start being content with the outcomes. Okay, by doing that, you'll find your life goes a whole lot more smoothly. If you don't believe me, give it a shot and see what happens. Don't just take my word for it. Do your own research. Okay, but where it comes to just going on a minor sidetrack there, where it comes to religion, if you're following a given religious belief, come right out and ask I do encourage you, come right out and ask your pastor, your priest, whoever stands at the front of the temple, the rabbi, I don't know all the terms. Ask them why you are told to fear a so-called all-loving God. Okay, if they're all-loving, why do you have to fear them? It's just a question you might choose to ask. I came to the conclusion that fearing God wasn't doing me any good. Heck, fearing the devil didn't do me any good. So I just didn't bother. Intriguingly enough, I do fear hospitals and dentists. Okay, I suffer from PTSD triggered by both. Not a good way to spend your life, by the way. Makes it really difficult to get help when you really could use it. But ask the people that you're turning to for spiritual guidance. Why are you being told to fear your creator? Okay. Why do we teach our kids, as your kids are growing up? Kids are born without prejudice. They're born without greed. Adults teach them greed and prejudice. Okay, if you don't believe me, take a look at the playground where the kids are just set off to go and play. Watch your kids and you'll notice they do not differentiate with color. They just don't bother. But adults, in other words, you people out there, are the ones teaching fear, teaching prejudice, you're teaching greed. It's time to stop. Because there is not a soul in existence that is of less value than yours, and there is not a soul in existence that is of more value than yours. Okay, now granted, monetarily speaking, some people have done extremely well. And I'm not suggesting that financially people are on the same wavelength. Okay, but I will tell you they still have the same concerns. It seems to me from everything that I've witnessed, the more money somebody has, the more money they tend to spend. Okay, and like I said, it starts off with a thought, comes down into the emotional drive. It's not until that emotional drive gets into handle, gets on track, that you actually start thinking about how to attain what you're looking at. Now, I spent my life ignoring the material world. Okay, until just the beginning of 2021, where I got the estate from my parents. Okay, and I did the logical thing. I invested a bunch of it. I paid my debts off, but I didn't correct the thinking process. So needless to say, like most people, I wiped it out. Not a smart move. Now that happened in January. By May, I figured out what I'd done wrong. I'd overlooked the mental thought. So I corrected that, and it's taken me since May, so the last 7 months, to get my head on straight to go, okay, here's what I'm doing to change the way my world is working. This is how I'm building my world back up. Okay, by setting incremental steps on the finances, I'm building my material world back to where I desire it to be. And that is a critical factor. Okay, that side of it is absolutely imperative. So with that in mind, okay, Absolutely. Now, I'm not the one to tell you how to be a millionaire. Okay, I will absolutely answer questions regarding how to handle and how to organize your finances so that you can stay on top. And I'm not talking about setting budgets. On the whole, budgets don't work. Budgets only work if you have X amount of dollars coming in on a definitive basis. But if you're like most people and you've got a wage that it's coming in by the hour, your income will fluctuate. However, tracking what you're doing with your money will absolutely help. Now, I know when I take a look at my finances, and this is why I've got two monitors. Okay, if I take a look at the way my finances are going right now, I've got one sheet that tells me everything. Now, I did put a budget together. Okay, in this case, I put a budget together for my household to spend $400 on food. But because of the way I track it, I know that I ended up spending 416. Okay, now I've still got another 4 or 5 days. I won't be, because of that, I know I've overpushed it a little. But because of that, I can look at it and go, okay, I got to do this a little bit more effectively to make sure that I'm not overextending. By doing that, by getting a hands-on grip on where your money is going, by tracking exactly what you're up to, you will be able to get back on track and actually become very prosperous with your income. Okay. Now, the reason I'm talking about income, and I know I've done this for the last couple of days, but the backbone of any house, of any business, and rest assured, running your house has got to be looked at like running a business. The finances, the income, is the backbone of running that house. So absolutely get on track with it. Okay, and start tracking it. Keep an eye on what you're spending money on so you can cut back where you have to. I was looking at it today and it's amazing. I should have paid more attention to it last year, and again, like I said, I didn't. But here's the thing. Okay, I ended up spending, what the heck was it? I didn't make this much money for my business. Just looking for what the heck I did with the sheet of paper that told me. Right there. Yes, I'm puttering around while I'm here, sitting here talking here. But that's because that's the way my mind works. Okay, when I turn this over and I look at it, I spend where it comes to printing, I end up spending on printing, on pictures, and on on editing. I spent last year over 10 grand. Right. Now, like I said, I ended up with an inheritance, so it didn't do me any damage. But I certainly won't have to spend that much this year. Okay. Now I just have to go through because that doesn't include what I spent on shipping. Okay. Where it comes to the books I was writing that I'm writing. So I still have to add that in. But what it does tell me is how much I went overboard. I overspent. This year, I'm going to be focusing on keeping my spending under my income. So I know the business is going to suffer a pretty severe loss this year. Okay, but it's one of those things that if you run a business or if you're running a household, if you overextend, you're going to be a little behind the eight ball. Take the time to really look at your finances, look at how you've been spending them, and start tracking it so you can correct that problem before it becomes massive. Now, years ago, I was doing the same thing. I was overextending. But at the guidance of people I trusted, I went and talked to financial advisors. In both cases, I was guided by a financial advisor to go bankrupt. I'm telling you, don't. There are ways to get around bankruptcy 90% of the time. Sometimes you can't. Okay, sometimes you don't have the option. But if I had been guided properly, I would not have gone through the double bankruptcy. Okay, I didn't have the wherewithal I didn't have the knowledge to know they were leading me down a bad path. Okay, but do I hold them responsible? Absolutely. Will I tell you, if you think you're on the verge of bankruptcy, absolutely talk to me. Because you may not have as big a problem as what you think, although you're not likely to get out of it as fast as you'd like. It's a question of taking responsibility for your own actions and really going, I did this, instead of doing what most of society is doing right now and blame everybody else. I could have blamed the credit card companies for my spending habits. They gave me access to a lot of credit and I burned through it. This is a bad idea. Okay. Credit is a good thing. Don't get me wrong. Okay. It's an absolutely good thing. But make sure what you're looking at where it comes to credit, make sure you can actually deal with it. Okay. And understand, we're talking about dealing with it in the event that you actually lose your income. Okay. There are a lot of tricks of playing with money. Now, there's a lot of books out there that'll tell you how to handle money, how to make money work, if you've got $50,000 extra to play with. I don't. So one of the books I'm in the middle of writing is a book that actually shows people how to take money when they've got the very bare minimum and start working with it to actually make money, to make the money work properly so you can get ahead a nickel, a dime, a quarter at a time. You won't be jumping thousands of dollars overnight. It's not going to happen that way. And in all fairness, what I've seen with most people that get a major windfall, like myself, you get that major windfall, and most of the time, report has it, that people that get a major windfall, like an inheritance, like a lottery win, end up in worse shape within 3 years of getting the lottery, of getting the win, than they were in before they got it. The reason for that is because they're not taught how to handle the finances in the first place. Okay, this is where the problem comes in. So it is absolutely imperative that you take a look at this and go, what am I doing with it? Where can I go? How can I make my money work for me? Okay, how can I make my communication lines with other people work for me? Well, the trick is to realize that communication is a 50-50 problem. It is one of these things that if you're not cooperating, if you're focusing on the negative side of things, you're going to cause problems. Okay, I should have said this a long time ago, but if you like the video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of it. Because turning the energy in this world around is not going to be a one-person job. It is going to be a major endeavor for a lot of people combined. Take the time to really look at where you're standing at, what you're aiming for, and make sure you take the time to think before acting on ideas that you've got. It's imperative you actually plan things through. And that's where this list I keep talking about comes in. You put a list together and you check off things and keep them, if you can, to 15-minute to half-hour jobs. Okay, like, for instance, when I get down this video, once I've got it posted, okay, this little book, this one, that's the newest one I've got. I've got 3 copies of this I have to wrap so I can send them out. Okay, but it boils down to writing them down so that they actually work. The nice thing about the whole issue is if you pay attention to what you're doing, you will be able to get things organized. Now, for me, when I get those wrapped up, tomorrow I will be able to send them off. Okay, and get them to where I desire them to go. Okay, that's just a couple of the projects I've got to work on. My painting is all over there, so I will get to it afterwards. Okay, and again, it boils down to picking things that I desire to do. Okay, even when it comes to hobbies, you've got to have some quiet time for you. Okay, you've got to have time. It cannot be functionally all work, or all family. It has to be a balance. Because like everything, if you've got too much on one side and not enough on the other, your life will be imbalanced. So make sure you're looking at it and balancing it as best you can. I don't have three arms to do it the way it needs to be done. But the best way to look at it is patterned out over a week. You split your time. Okay. You got 24 hours in a day, so you split it 4 ways. And the 4 ways are your career, which may be your education. Okay. You split it 4 ways. One is you personally, your hobbies, your pastimes. Then you've got your interpersonal skills, which are the time you spend with that special someone, the time you spend with your friends, with your social circle. The third method, the third quarter, is spent on career and education, your method of generating an income. And the fourth one is the one most people overlook. The fourth one is your sleep. If you're not getting proper rest, you're not going to function properly. You don't believe me? Spend a night where you don't get any rest and see how productive you are the following day. Okay, these are things that you have to look at. Like I was thinking just the other day, just yesterday when I couldn't do anything else, I was thinking I should probably go and get my eyes checked, because these glasses are no longer doing everything I require them to. Now, I know as I get older, my eyes are still not perfect. They are better than they ever were. But I do desire to get the corrective lenses to help with some of it. Okay, I certainly won't be going to bifocals. Even at 58 years old, I'm not going to bifocals, but that's a choice I'm making. Okay. So that is one of those little things that I will go and deal with, because they don't scare me. Doctors and dentists, that's another problem. Those I have to deal with myself. And here's the silly part. I know this was a bad idea. This funny little thing here. No, I'm not going to show you the name. That's the aspirin that I was going through yesterday because of painkillers. And the person I told about it just about had a coronary. Because normally you're told with this particular medication, with this particular painkiller, do not exceed 4,000 milligrams a day. Right? I went through in excess of 11,000 just to take the edge off the pain. Today, I'm doing really good. Okay, I brought the pain back down. I brought the swelling down. But this is a question of looking at it and going, I'm not content with the way my life is going. Okay, I'm not happy with what's happening, so I'm going to alter the way it's traveling. And this is the same thing that you have to do. If you desire to pitch in and help change the energy in this world, it's going to take all of our effort working together. Now, I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.